Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I'm Rishabh Gulati. We talk about mental health in a year that has been very difficult for all of us. But within that comes the concept of what is mental toughness. And mental toughness, just like our bodies, does it require a kind of training? Are we supposed to somehow imbibe it automatically? Is it supposed to be a part of how we grow up and build our personalities? But when we realize that there is not only an art, but now an emerging science, think about people who do very, very difficult jobs. Think about people who serve on our front lines under impossible conditions, away from their families year after year, knowing that life and safety is at risk. They have a higher purpose. Where do they get their mental toughness from? Think about all the commando training TV series that you've seen and documentaries that you've seen, and you know that these people have to survive in difficult conditions. And the one thing that we know that any weight trainer will tell you, it begins in the mind. You survive in the mind. Now, can that be taught? Well, one individual who has done these things as a real life superhero of this country, Colonel Lakesh Krishnan. He was a former NSG officer, a black cat commando. He hung up his boots and is now taking on this mission of mental toughness. It's called Catfit, and they're setting up a global team to not only teach individuals, teach leadership of mental toughness, teach teams on how to come together and train our minds to the next level, the level at which special forces operate using techniques that can be applied to our daily lives. Let's take the opportunity now of introducing our two panelists on this very, very special, interesting discussion. Arpan Dixit is with us, and of course, he's the global head of Catfit. And Captain Yashika Tyagi is joining us as well. Thank you both for joining us. And
Thank you
for having us. Viewers watching, Arpan, this is going to be a series of these kind of conversations we'll be having on NewsX. And there is a much larger platform that Catfit is, of course, operating. And if you're watching this, you can see their social media handles and other links playing at the bottom of your screens. Arpan, help us understand, Catfit and what you guys call the MAST technique. What is it all about?
Right, Rishabh, thank you for that wonderful introduction of Team Catfit and our founder. MAST is primarily, it's an acronym for Military Application and Special Forces Tactics. It's a fourfold approach wherein first and foremost, we go to schools, colleges, universities, sporting houses, sporting bodies, teams, as well as corporate business houses. Mm-hmm. And first and foremost, what we do is we try and identify their current state of mental health, then the current state of emotional health, post that the current state of psychological health, and then finally physical health. All four are interrelated. We very often use all of these in sync. We sometimes confuse mental health with psychological health, and we confuse psychological health with your entire physical fitness. But the thing is that all four are different. And then once we start, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say we go to a school, for example. The first thing we do is we evaluate the child and see the current emotional quotient, the mental quotient and psychological quotient. Our team of psychologists, formerly from Air Force Intelligence, formerly from Army Intelligence, and other psychologists as well who've worked with top corporate houses across the world, not just in India. And the series of questionnaires that these people are put through, we are able to identify if someone's suffering from depression, stress, or anxiety, how they handle resilience, what are their resilience levels, how they cope with adversity. Once we've identified these, we counsel them. And this is the first part of our MAST training. Post that, we go into, as Captain Yashika will be telling you later on, about mental toughness, and then finally the physical fitness.
But Arpan, I can understand, therapy, and I think a lot of us globally and now in India, given what's happened last year, are getting into the concept that you have to go through therapy. Can the mind be trained? I mean, what is the logic here? When we say physical training, we understand it. Therapy now I understand. But what is mental training? How is that done?
So mental training, initially first, once we've identified, let's say someone is in depression, or someone has less levels of resilience, or their ability to cope with adversity is less.
Right.
Then we take them through a series of exercises which are mental as well as physical as well as psychological. We do them in-house, we do them at our camps, we do them in the premises of the concerned corporate house as well. Yes, these are physical as well as mental exercises, and we can train the mind to do what we want it to do. The mind actually is the machine which invented the computer, and it is the brain behind artificial intelligence. So there is no reason why this brain can't supersede everything else around.
The mind can be trained, and this is not just into tasks. It's about leadership training, which begins with mind. It's going to be a fascinating conversation, Arpan. I'm so glad I'm having it. I'm hopefully going to learn something. We all have leadership roles to perform. But Captain Yashika, mind matters is the motto of Catfit. How did you get involved in this concept of leadership training that the team is trying to push ahead?
First of all, let me thank you on behalf of Catfit for having the team of Catfit over on your news channel. How did I come about joining Catfit is a very interesting story. I'm a lady officer from very, very initial batches of, Indian Army when it started taking lady officers into its fold. I joined in the year 1994. After that, I did difficult postings. I was the first lady officer to be posted to extreme cold climate and high altitude area. I was the first lady officer from the logistics wing to be in the battle zone in Operation Vijay, that is popularly known as Battle of Kargil. Thereafter, when I hung my boots, I did a lot of work with private as well as public organizations. But there was something inside that made me go on to do something more than this, where I can add my mindset and my service experience into something productive.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the year 2017 that I was working with a mammoth international university in Pune and had a very good role looking after administration of 13 campuses pan-India, very rewarding role. And this was the time I reconnected with Colonel Krishnan. Colonel Krishnan and me trained together in Officers Training Academy, Chennai. We are course mates.
Right.
And he remembered me from that time as a girl who never gives up, that Josh type. And he invited me to speak on the forum of Catfit. As Catfit had also just begun, we all were taking baby steps together. And I said, why not? Let me give it a shot. And let me tell you, my first workshop in that engineering college in Chandigarh made me realize that this is my calling. This is what I always wanted to do. This is where I wanted to be.
So where does that come from, Captain Yashika? Does that come from when you see results and you get feedback and people come to you and say, we are leading a better, more productive life thanks to you?
It is so wonderful. Let me share a personal example with you. In a workshop in Chandigarh, this girl who was listening very intently, very closely, and I could see that there were children who were actually being touched by what I was saying. A wonderful news came about after a couple of months that this girl has not only topped CDS, but she has got All India ranking 1.
Wow.
And this real life impact, oh my God, I cannot even tell you how much it shook me. How much it changed me.
What
also worked with international level cricketers from the team of India.
Right.
And again, people are shining with the kind of mental.
Okay, I'm going to come and pick your mind on that, but let's quickly get Arpan back in. Arpan, this concept when we're going into performance enhancement, okay? Now, one is the concept of, coaches we understand, and, we know motivational speakers and people who give you lovely slogans and all that. But this concept of performance enhancement, when did you realize that, there's something that we need to do here, which is beyond what is already being done through these coach motivational angle?
Right, Rishabh. So the idea of Catfit is performance enhancement. The reason for the existence of Catfit is performance enhancement. I could say it is the very essence of our existence as far as an organization is concerned. So when we started out in 2017, we started out primarily training sports teams and sports, international and national athletes. And once we saw what we do, meaning to say what the energy and special forces officers, what they do in their training, when we imparted this to international cricketers and currently who are part of the Indian team, and we saw the result, we got the feedback, and then that is when we realized that this is something which should not be limited to just sports, we can pass it over to students. Again, as Captain Yashika was saying earlier, you can train people, but someone goes on to, get rank 1 all India is a big deal. And then lastly, even for corporates, we took the senior most management of Danfoss Industries, for example. It's one of the largest engineering firms in Europe and India. And we took the senior most management into Kathmandu, trained them for a few days workshop. And the feedback that we got from not just the senior most people, but even the middle ranking people who were there, they said, this is something that we've never experienced. We have these run-of-the-mill trainers who come, who give us gyan, who give us a whole lot of logos. But this is something which was practically applicable, and that is why this performance.
I want to pick your mind on this because this is fascinating. What an offsite experience. I think it'll be useful for all of us. But let's get Captain Yashika. Captain Yashika, you guys both have mentioned cricketers and sports persons, students you mentioned, but in a corporate environment, in these three various kinds of setups, what is the training part of this, ma'am? How do you go about engaging with a student versus a sports person versus somebody working in the corporate field?
As Arpan just mentioned, we work with the philosophy of MAST, that is military applications and special forces tactics. See, Mr. Rishabh, we firmly believe in two things. A, mind is trainable, and mind is the basis of all the success and all the progress that we can have. Mm-hmm. And second thing that we believe in is that Army has set the gold standard for the performance, for handling the stress, for performing under different kind of very challenging environments. And so we have clubbed different kind of learnings from Army and taken the MAST format forward. So when we deal with military applications and special forces and very impressionable minds together, it gives us a total magic formula. We see that when Army goes into different environment, they have a training. We say that train as you fight. That is what we have been taught in Army. Mm-hmm. We say that if you train well, they say that training is the bedrock. More you sweat in peace, less you bleed in war. And when we take it to students, when we give them the mental toughness, when we give them the training about how to handle different kinds of stress-like environments, adversity, how to face the depression, how to face the stress of life, college life, corporate life, and merge it together, the kind of result that comes in.
Captain Yashika, what you guys are doing is at the front line of management training. I was interviewing one of the senior professors from Harvard Business School, who was an alumnus of my school. And the first thing he mentioned to me as an example was special forces training. He said, how can you create a team, right, that is literally willing to fight for each other, die for each other, okay, in extreme circumstances. When we get into petulant things about, who took a vacation and who worked how many hours and did overtime and undertime. And he said, you look at these teams.
Yes.
And that is the best example of management training. So I just want to pick your mind before I get back to Arpan. And I know we have a lot of areas to cover, but can you help us understand? I mean, so Arpan has mentioned that, you do the tests, right? So now you have a profile of my psychological, emotional status and my mental toughness. Okay. Now, is this team training per se that you guys do and you put the teams together? Is it individual training? Is it a bit of both? How do you guys structure a particular kind of program, ma'am?
It is a bit of both. We customize the program as per the requirement of the participant. When we say, for example, we go to schools. Now, this team of psychologists that we have, this wide array, the best names from industry, the Army, Navy, Air Force, we say all these names. But actually, the person who has to be helped is that student. Now, if we find that there is a particular student who requires more therapy, if there is a group that will benefit from a team effort, so our psychologists and Catfit leadership trainers like me, we rightly go from individual student to school, class level, and then to the school.
Okay.
It is very interesting to see that how different kind of therapies come together. Actually, what we are trying to build here, we are trying to build a warrior mindset, a mindset that is full of resilience, a mindset that can bounce back, a mindset that can fight the unforeseen circumstances, and a military mindset. When we say we want to build, actually, what do we want to build? We want to build in a mindset of courage. We want to build a mindset of discipline. And we want to build a mindset of purpose. And believe you me, and you will agree with me, that these three things can make you survive anything, make you hold your hand in all walks of life.
I'm not an expert in this as you are, but when I'm talking to a team for the first time or a new entrant in the team, and I tell them, look, I can wake up in the morning, and think, what if I'd done that career and then this job, or what if I'd joined some other media organization, what if I did print, or what if I become a lawyer? I have to assume that I'm good at my job.
Exactly.
So if I focus on my job, I probably do it well. But if my mind is elsewhere, I can't do that job. Arpan, we're going to be doing a series of this, and we'll be covering a lot of this in detail as we go along. But for people who are watching, who are intrigued, okay, for many, it might be a first introduction to what you guys are doing, and they're inspired by how you guys are doing. How does one connect with you? I mean, we're putting your social media handles, but if somebody was to approach CatFit, do you have a annual calendar? Are you guys doing webinars right now? Do you do special camps? Does somebody have to approach you? How does it work?
It's twofold, Rishabh. Firstly, we've got a marketing team which approaches corporate houses, sports teams, as well as schools, colleges, and universities. So that's one. Secondly, if someone himself or herself, individually or collectively, wishes, we are just a call away. You can or send us a mail, and we tailor make the program as per the requirement. So maybe there is just one. So for example, we've got a lot of individuals who are training with us, who happen to be from sports background, people who are training for the Olympics, people who are training for World Cups, people who are preparing for the national games. We are training them individually. Then there are people who are getting trained collectively. So anyone who wishes to connect with us, you can just log into the website, log into any of our social media, just drop her a message, and the marketing team then gets back to you.
Okay. Let's put this with reference to context, because for each and every one of us watching this broadcast, this has been, I was having this conversation, I've had this severally, this is a generation that is, not seen global war. We've not seen global famine. Our parents my father remembers in India when, didn't have, wheat to make roti, and PL 480 scheme had to come up with, and he's gone through, and a lot of my family members are from the armed forces, so they've gone through 65 and 71. We haven't. I don't even know what a bomb raid siren sounds like and what a blackout looks like, and a generation before mine knows this. So globally, we've experienced something together which has caused our own challenges through COVID-19. Arpan, we've all gone through difficulties, financial stress, mental stress, away from family. Sometimes you have elderly parents in a different city, you can't even go to them anymore. In this particular reality of the past 1 year, in the work that you guys have been doing since 2017, what is the angularity or the aspect of this that you are trying to bring in to cover this, collective experience of COVID?
Right. So as far as COVID-19 is concerned, psychologists who are working for us, 4 of them actually, they went on to conduct a study for the Government of India, the Education Ministry, from about April till June. And this was done to identify the impact of COVID-19 on people. So there were 6 sectors of society that had been, we were looking at: doctors and corporate individuals, students, teachers, parents, and so on. And now that we have the results with us, the Government of India and the National Book Trust has launched 6 books which are there for everyone to read. But now, on the basis of the results that we have in hand and what we have been doing for the last 4.5 years, now it is all coming together, and we are in a better position to, reach out to people and probably assist them.
So, Arpan, are these books, results of research? So, are they telling us statistically telling us something, or are they guidebooks? What is the logic of the books?
They're a combination of 2. They are guidebooks. They are for posterity as well. God forbid if there is a famine, or as you were saying earlier, a war in the future, or some disease like COVID in the future, then this acts as a basis. These 6 books which have been published by the National Book Trust and the Government of India People can refer to them and see the data, how people were reacting, what were their depression levels, their stress levels, their anxiety levels, or what kind of thoughts they were having, and what the impact was, and what could have been done at that point of time. So this was something new for all of us. Now that we have research at hand, in the future, God forbid something happens, people can refer to these books and act accordingly.
Fascinating. But has the logic changed, Arpan? Given what's happened in the past 1 year, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the telecast, now we are starting to open up to the importance of mental health and taking it to the next level. I mean, this is what you're providing, right? You're trying to isolate a baseline that this is what you need to reach a particular level. And then to go beyond that. Are you seeing a lot more people interested and receptive of this now?
So Rishabh, I'll give you a background. When we started out, there were very few people who understood what we were doing. When we went to corporate houses, when we went to schools, everyone said they have a psychologist. I said, do the children or do the people actually come to you and share their actual problems? And even if they do you give them an evaluation and actually understand what is happening inside the brain? And nobody does that. And another problem with this mental health thing is because when we call it mental, in India, the analogy mental means someone is mad.
Yeah, taboo.
It's not the case. Mental health is different from someone being mad. People are not mad. It's just that they're not feeling well at that point of time. We are trying to identify why they're not feeling well and what can be done to make them feel well. And post that, how we can make them feel better and make them mentally tougher so that they don't fall back into the same thing again.
There was a point, Arpan, I mean, when fitness meant something different, and now fitness is a recognized logic, and now in of course a huge industry that is behind it. So you're pioneering something that needs to be pioneered. But how do you then I've understood the logic of putting techniques together, but if you've done the baseline test and then people have gone through your course, is it anecdotal feedback based, or then do you go back and check? How do you check whether the performance enhancement has happened? How does that work?
So the courses they are stretched across the year. And we do keep going back to them. The channels are always open with the people who we've worked with. They can always call us back, call the exact person back and say that you had done this. I was feeling better for 5 months. Now 6 months later, I'm not feeling well again. But the person who had evaluated will have all the results at hand and then probably put you through the testing again, see probably what has gone wrong now.
Right. So there's a continuous exercise.
It's an evolving process. It's not a one-time event.
Okay, so which is what it requires, right? Physical fitness is not a one-time exercise. You can't go for a gym for
one day and become Arnold Schwarzenegger the next day. That doesn't happen.
Same logic. Captain Yashika, because you mentioned working with sports persons, but you guys at Catfit are also involved with the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Andolan. So how is it that you got involved with that, and what does your involvement actually mean?
This is one work that we did. It's quite interesting. Actually, we went to the hinterlands of Uttarakhand and conducted the program under the banner of Beti Bachao Beti Padhao. As you know that Uttarakhand falls under the seismic zone, and already a huge earthquake has come in the past in Uttarkashi. So taking cue from that, we thought, why not give something different to the girls here? Let us give them a first aid training. Let us give them a CPR training along with the mental toughness training that we give. Let us empower them in case, God forbid, there is any requirement of the first responders. So with that aim, we started this workshop with the girls. First day of training went off. And then the next day, we realized that the girls were there up on the stage. The girls were volunteering to work on the mannequins. And not only this, they were also ready to go into different villages and share their newfound knowledge. So I feel that these girls, we think that they are coming from small places, but the level of confidence that they have, I think we just have to be the wind beneath their wings. These girls are ready to take on the world. They just need a push. They just need a guidance. And today it is my appeal. From this platform, I would appeal all the corporate houses. We are working on the ground. We are the foot soldiers. We are working with the government. But that is not enough. To go till the last girl of the last village, we need the partnership. We need to join hands. And so, as the partners in the corporate social responsibility, we would like to take various facets of how to empower the girl child of our country.
Excellent. And of course, if you're watching this telecast, I'm repeating again, the details of how to connect with Catfit are on your screens. And now you've been introduced to the senior team. And over the course of the telecast, I'm hoping to be speaking with the good colonel as well. Okay, but, just taking on a different tack, Arpan, we understand the concept, or at least we think we understand the concept of what is military self-defense, okay? But a lot of self-defense exercises and workshops already happen, okay? How is Catfit applying a different technique? What's different about it? What's different about your logic?
Right. So Rishabh, first, the self-defense formats that you would have heard of, primary ones, karate, judo, boxing, taekwondo, so on and so forth. So these are the primary ones. All of these are good. In fact, they all started off as martial arts. They all started off as self-defense formats. However, what has happened is these are now all sports. When a young child or a lady in the corporate houses or a housewife learns any of these sports, the first thing that the trainer is going to be teaching you are rules and regulations and laws of the sport, which means you can't hit below the belt, you can't hit in the eye, you can't do this, you can't do that. So there are more can'ts than do's. Whereas when you look at military self-defense, it is no matter what it takes and how it takes to get out of a particular situation. So military self-defense is primarily taking the best from all martial arts, putting them together in a realistic format and understanding what are the problems that children and women could actually face in real life, probably molestation, for example, or physically being violated or being kidnapped. Now, these are realistic threat scenarios which a sport is not capable of handling, whereas something which is realistic, which people have actually trained in, your NSG officers or your special forces commandos, they actually have faced this in real life where their lives were under threat. When these people come and teach you exactly that, the training level is different, your mental level of self-confidence is different than compared to a martial arts like a sport of judo or taekwondo, etc.
Well, guys, looking forward over the course of this special series, we've had an introduction to what the plan is, and we'll be delving into details over the course of several such telecasts here on NewsX. But this was a treat. It's been a pleasure getting to know you guys off camera over the past few weeks and to take this forward. A great job that your team is doing. Keep yourselves motivated, because then you in turn have to keep the rest of us motivated. Thanks very much for watching this telecast.
Thank you and Jai Hind.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.